Ladies and gentlemen, today I must start off my presentation with a very exciting news that we woke up to yesterday morning on the 1st of December 2005. News coming out of the Jamaica Gleaner. Yes, from where I got my information regarding this latest news regarding Jayden Smith. I was reading an article from the Jamaica Gleaner yesterday where in Manchester, the superintendent of police in charge of the Mandeville police station has now made a release concerning Jayden Smith's disappearance. From my understanding of what the Jamaica Gleaner article was saying, is that Superintendent Carey Duncan of the Mandeville police station has said that the police continue their search into the missing child, Jayden Smith disappearance. And I am not surprised that it is Superintendent Carey Duncan that would have to bring us that news, and not the head of Area 3, and not the head of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Why I am not surprised? Ladies and gentlemen, one speaks on behalf of all. I personally have met Superintendent Carey Duncan on several occasions, even before he became a superintendent of police. And one thing I must say is that since Superintendent Carey Duncan had sat in his position, to which he now sits at the Mandeville police station, his job and his duty and responsibilities had increased. And as his duty and responsibilities increased, so is companionship and company that he walks with and talks with and work with. And I speak of these four men in this, an interview or recording I once did with them. These four men I personally call the Dragons Catchers. The Dragons Catchers. These four men I personally call the Dragon Slayers. Why would I call these four men or these four top cops the Dragon Slayers? Because, ladies and gentlemen, based on their actions, based on their hard work, based on their dedication to security and fight against crime, they have been reaping very good and very great reward. And after this incident that happened in Clarendon, that's when I understand the depth, the hard work, the behind the scene preparation, and the pre-planning, and the well coordination of these four men.
Good afternoon. I am Calvin Allen, Assistant Commissioner of Police, in charge of Area 3. With me to my right is Acting SSP David White, in charge of Area 3 operations. We have the Divisional Commander for Manchester, Superintendent Carey Duncan, and we have DSP Daniels in charge of operations for Manchester.
But of these four men, I do, in the past and still present, find the Superintendent Carey Duncan to be a bright future for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and one who I'm not surprised if the opportunity was to be given at least 5 years from now, could be sitting in the seat of being the next police commissioner of Jamaica. Oh, That's a topic for another discussion. Superintendent Kerry Duncan and his team, if they were to approach me and asked for my input in finding Jayden Smith, I would first take them to the United Nations document where Sergeant Selvin Robinson of the Jamaica Constabulary Force's report was brought into focus into the decrease of crime during COVID-19 all the way up to 2020. The Joint Selected Committee of Parliament in 2017 to 2018 recommended that the Minister of Education at the time would immediately change with effect key aspects of the Child Care Protection Act. And one of the first aspects that was discussed by this joint committee was that they recommended the strengthening of the mandatory reporting aspect of the Child Care Protection Act, widening the net of persons deemed to be prescribed persons and ascribed heightened duties of reporting under the law. So basically, what the Joint Selected Committee of Parliament was saying is that persons that are involved in child care, their duties were to be heightened, or special and more detailed reporting skills and responsibilities, in my understanding, must be noted and be more accounted of. And the list of these persons were given, which were known to the United Nations as coaches, youth workers, and persons in community faith-based organization. Persons in community faith-based organizations, such as pastors, religious leaders who work directly and have a duty of care towards children. I ask the question, the fact that we now know from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Area 3, Mandeville Police Station to the exact, that the search is still on for Jayden Smith. Question. According to the Joint Select Committee of Parliament report, in 2017 to 2018, a report that was shared with the Minister of Education at the time, where a request was asked that immediate and with effect changes be made to the Child Care Protection Act, that those who are in charge of children, a more, in my term now, stringent report system was to be prescribed. The police continued their search for Jayden Smith. But the question is, Was the coach of Jayden Smith interviewed? Was the principal of Jayden Smith interviewed? Was the pastor of Jayden Smith interviewed? Was the teachers of Jayden Smith interviewed? Was the parents of Jayden Smith interviewed? Was the guardians of Jayden Smith interviewed? Was the person in charge of the Boy Scout of the Manchester High School interviewed? Ladies and gentlemen, I have no doubt the Jamaica Constabulary Force had been doing their due diligence in finding Jayden Smith. But there are many questions, I'm sure, the Jamaica Constabulary Force will not be able to answer to us, the public. Why? Because of the Child Care Protection Act. I did read to you a statement from the Child Care Protection Act revision of 2017 to 2018 that was presented to Parliament, where it did recommend that there were some things that were to be excluded when reporting on a matter regarding a child in state care. For example, let's go back to the United Nations document that was presented to the Minister of Education by the Joint Select Committee of Parliament. Point number 2 was that they had said they recommended that the screen of privacy established by Section 44 and 45 of the Child Care Protection Act, whereby in court proceedings, any details regarding the identity of a child or victim are to be excluded from any news report and should be expanded to exclude from publication any information that could lead to the public to guess the identity of a person making a mandatory report connected with the case. They also mentioned that they have noted instances where the media has provided details that can lead to the identity of the prescribed person who made the initial report to the National Children's Registry being reduced or deduced. My correction. We caution that this practice could lead to the reduced reporting, or more sinisterly, to victim of witness. Ladies and gentlemen, what I read sounds technical, and I'm sure the Superintendent of Police for Mandeville would definitely agree with me that if Jayden Smith was found and is in a child care facility owned by the government, unless a court gives permission, the police cannot say anything unless the court gives permission. The police said the search is on. Let's say the search is on. Will Jayden Smith be found? Was Jayden Smith found? And if he was found, is he still Jayden Smith? Because the Jayden Smith that we are looking for may not go by that name anymore. Therefore, the Jayden Smith we're looking for may not be found. But was Jayden Smith found? That's the question. We don't need to know by who. We don't need to know where. But if the police said he wasn't found, we're now in a jam. And what's the jam? Who is it that has Jayden Smith? And where is Jayden Smith? Because if any at all, these documents I'm reading regarding the Child Care Protection Act, the Jayden Smith story is going to be a story that will be changing the laws of Jamaica regarding what happens when the police is reporting a child that had gone missing, but was found, but by the Child Development Agency or in the care of the Child Development Agency. Because my little knowledge and understanding is telling me if the Child Development Agency has the child or the state has the child, the police cannot and will not be able to comment or report on the matter unless permission is given by the court and by the Ministry of Education. I rest my case.
Good afternoon. I am Calvin Allen, Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of Area 3. With me to my right is Acting SSP David White in charge of Area 3 operations. We have the Divisional Commander for Manchester, Superintendent Kerry Duncan, and we have DSP Daniels in charge of operations for Manchester.